approximately 180 hours later, 8 animal species with 19 animals across those species, a restaurant, a gift shop, and so much more. That's right, it's time for the halfway tour of PAWS. That's right, welcome on in. My name is Blob, and welcome to the halfway tour of PAWS. Glad you could join me here in sunny St Albans on this quite monumentous day, really, hitting that 50% mark. The general premise of this tour is going to be me taking a slow walk around. The start here is going to be me explaining a few things. The entrance is really pretty much the same as what it was since the last tour at the end of 2023. But I'm going to be going around, I'm going to be introducing you to each of the residents if you haven't met them before. There's going to be an icon in the top right as well of a hammer and saw I think I end up using, just to show you areas that are going to be potentially up for construction at some point. But yeah, really hope you enjoy, and let's jump on in. First up, we have got the Grove. These are the 5 lodges that are pretty much going to be considered like the base lodges. Like I say, there's going to be a few dotted around to give you special views of animals. One of those is going to feature in the tour a bit later on. But yeah, the general premise of this place has stayed the same. There's been a few additions here and there. The post box there on the right. We've got the flag in the middle. I didn't really feel like at times it felt like we're in the UK. So adding the English flag really did help with the establishment of where we were situated. And we've also got an animal in here as well. We've got a peafowl roaming around just to make use of the space a bit more as well. I kind of like the idea of people sitting out here and this peafowl walking around making noises in the morning and stuff like that, waking people up. It kind of a bit sadistic, but at the same time I do find it funny. Oh, I can actually spot him here, just trudging through the grass. Named after the very enigmatic Greth, as always. Very, very cool. But let's head on round to the main entrance area. Big disclaimer, this bit I had every intention of doing the indoors for the actual reception area, but I haven't done it. So unfortunately, someone is going to have to sue me, because I will get it done before the end, I promise. Probably not, but hey ho, I will get it done at some point. But the entrance building remains pretty much the same in terms of layout. The bike rack out the front there, I think, is something that was new. I'd marked out where I wanted it to be, but the actual bike rack itself hadn't been built up to this stage. But it has. I'm kind of glad I didn't build the interior to this reception, because it has had a bit of a remodel in terms of shape, purely because of what sits on the other side of this building, which we'll have a look at in a second. But here is where the changes really start to show. If you go back and look at that old tour video, I might add a screenshot here at some point, you will see in the background there was no backdrop to the lake. You literally walked in, you had the lake in front of you, and then it was just empty map. There was nothing, not even any trees, no buildings, anything. So this place has had a real facelift and overhaul over the course of the last 3 months leading up to this point. The farm building, you all know about that place and the law regarding that, but the lake still remains one of my favorite areas. You'll see empty plaques around here and there that have got signs that I need to make in Canva. They're pretty much the only thing I didn't get around to doing, but I'm still trying to work out a color palette and a theme that I really like. I've got something roughly in mind, but nothing concrete up to this point. Across the way there, we've got the backdrop of the restaurant and gift shop, and behind us we've got the other side of the entrance building, and on the left hand side we have got the very coolly named Pan Theatre. Obviously a play on words of the words theatre and panther. This space is intended for educational purposes, so you'd have talks going on. We've got this video going on in the background here. I've got some very cool people to do some voice acting for that for me. And yeah, so the idea being you go in, learn a little bit about Sanctuary and some of the residents sort of before you go around. Obviously, when you go around, you would have a tour guide with you who would be able to explain a lot of this stuff as you go. And it's also a good space for if you have schools visiting the Sanctuary as well. But we've come up to the first fork in the road. We're going to be going up to the left-hand side here, and I'm going to be introducing you to the first cat that actually made it into the Sanctuary, and that is going to be our amazing cheetahs. I love these guys so much. The habitat, as from the video, has had a massive rework, so it's not the exact same as what it was from the get-go. And this space is shared by Cleo and their new cub, King. Thank you, Goron, for the name. It was one of the 2 animals remaining that needed a name. And of course, we've got Khan, the male, as well. They're so photogenic. Every time I go over here, they're willing to pose for the camera, which makes it so much easier to shoot footage for these kind of videos, which is amazing. Love them to bits. And these lion signs here, absolutely amazing. Love them so much. They help bring such a good educational vibe to the whole place. But we head on up. On the right hand side here, we have got the addition from the last episode, the Central Gardens. But for the purposes of this tour, we will go into that a little bit later on. But this is what we consider the, quote, main entrance to the Central Gardens. But we head on down the hill here, down to the first viewing point for the Eurasia Lynx, filled with the most, I think this might be my favourite habitat still of the whole sanctuary. Pippin has got such a nice space here. And here he comes up the hill. Such a nice model. Absolutely adore it so much, the Eurasia Lynx. And really wanted to do it justice with this habitat. And I think I managed to do that across the 3 viewing points. We'll look at each of those as we head around further. But I think this window might be my favourite because of the angle of the whole thing. It feels really tucked away and nestled. And you've got the falling leaves as well, which I don't really feel like a lot of people utilise to their full potential sometimes. But heading up to the, I think this was the second habitat that we ended up putting, which is a bit weird given how far away it is from the cheetah habitat. But the Amur leopards are the next feature of the sanctuary. On the left-hand side here, we'll have a quick look. We've got the feeding area. The feeding experiences is something that are sort of part of different packages that the sanctuary would offer. So these one-on-one, up-close and personal experiences to be able to feed the Amur leopards is something really nice. And little details here, I think, just bring it all together. This bucket with like the food sitting in the bottom and the stick that people would use to obviously feed them. You want to poke your fingers through the mesh. It's the only instances where I'd really use meshes so that you could obviously put the food through the fence to the leopards as they climb up there. But this is the main viewing area. If you wasn't someone that was able to get one of the experiences, this would be sort of one of your main viewing points for the Amur leopards. We've got another window a bit further around, but I don't think we'll have a look at that. I probably should do because it is quite beautiful. But the Amur leopards, I love them so much. My favourite animals in real life, for those of you that don't know. And this space is shared by 4 absolutely amazing animals. We've got Luna here. Luna's pretty much the most photogenic out of a lot of them. Takani's quite hidden a lot of the time. But along with Takani, they also share this space with their 2 cubs, Ross and Becky. Really cool. Really love them. But let's head on round further, and another absolutely outstanding model is going to be coming up as well from Frontier. So good with their cat models nowadays. I just wish that they would go back and redo some of them, not naming any names. But on a side note, I wish we had more of these statues here. The conservation statues of the Amur leopards and, well, all of the animals that came in that pack for that matter. I really like the sort of chunky round statues for each of the animals. I kind of wish we had more stuff like that. On the right hand side here, we've got the second viewing point for Pippin's habitat. This is just sort of meant to be a sort of higher, rocky, more mountainous area. It doesn't really give that vibe as much as the other 2 areas, but you can also get a good view of their viewing, or their indoor area as well, I should say. Just tucked away in here, we've just got some staff facilities, as well, just so that if you were to use this in sort of franchise, it's completely usable. It's not all built for Sandbox, even though it is built in Sandbox. So all of the keepers that sort of service this area, the Lynx, the Amur leopard, the Cheetahs, they're all serviced through that one hut back there. But now we're crossing the bridge to Cougar Creek. And in terms of the nature aesthetic, I think this is still my favourite area. I've got a few things that might potentially trump this, but the whole creek running through the middle underneath the bridge, and then Tonquin's habitat here built completely on the side of that creek as well. I love it so much. And across the way there, we've got one of the specialty lodges, but we'll cover that a little bit later on. But like I said, in here, we've got Tonquin. Tonquin has a really cool backstory as well. He is someone that was brought to us from TNS, that's True North Sanctuary, the sanctuary made by Sparrow. I sort of wanted a little bit more lore for some of these animals, and I absolutely adored her cougar habitat. So I thought, you know what? let's reach out. Maybe we can make a little bit of lore between the two of us in terms of something for this place. And really happy with the story with Tonquin. Tonquin's really cool. Like I say, the Cougar models are just absolutely phenomenal anyway. So I think this probably ranks as maybe my second habitat. Don't worry, I'm not going to go around and rank every single habitat, but I think this is probably my second favorite purely because of the nature aesthetic and use of foliage is pretty much some of my best work to date. But we're going to head on down here. This is going to be the second bridge, and this is going to lead us into the central gardens. This is going to be one of our side entrances, and this part on the left still needs a little bit of work, but I'm still working on the lodge kind of as well, just making it feel like it preserves and belongs where it is as well. So that bit on the left isn't quite done, but this huge bit on the left here is going to be where the sanctuary is going to continue to expand after this video is done. But we're going to split off and do a couple of tangents here. First up being that lodge, I mentioned it a second ago, and it's currently unnamed. It did have a name, but I've currently taken that name back because in the community tab of the channel right now is a poll going on for what cat you would like to see next, and depending on what cat is picked will decide what the name of this lodge will be, as well as the lodge that is going to be adjoining that future cat habitat. But the view up here is so nice. It gives you a really clear view there of the scratching posts that they use. And then as you move further around, we've got the main staff area here as well. This main staff area is pretty much going to be catering to the rest of the big cats on in the sanctuary as well. You can get a little glimpse of who might be coming there on the board as we walk past. And this is pretty much one of my favourite parts of the whole sanctuary, this catwalk that I made absolutely ages ago. Even though the stairs are completely awful to try and navigate, I don't really care. I love it so much. The little what do you want to call it, wench here on the left hand side that raises and lowers the gate into Tonquin's indoor area, so good. Love it. And from literally any point in this sanctuary, the thing that I absolutely love still to this day is Dumble's tower is so prevalent above the tree line, which is exactly what I wanted when I asked him to make that tower for me. But back on the main path and to the central gardens, we've got, like I say, I think this is my favourite monument in the whole place, and it is the meteorite. I've got some really cool lore for this, but I'm not going to include it in this video. But over here is where we're going to have a really cool viewing area for the next animal. Like I say, check the community tab. There's a poll over there. Go and vote on it if you want to have a say in what could be going in this space next episode. But we'll head on round and get a really good look at Dumble's tower from the base here. This park on the left, I still think it's something that I'm on the fence about. I might even redo it, but the tower is staying, that's no doubt about that. But there is a few elements here and there that I'm not still convinced on entirely. This space on the left, I still need to fill in. The monument that I was going to put in there, I'm going to be moving to another part of the sanctuary because I think it's going to be more fitting, because it does sort of air more on the tropical side as opposed to the more temperate vibe that this whole place gives. And Pippin here just having a little stroll, love it so much. This is like the foresty viewing area. Really love how this looks as well. Just gives you an opportunity to see the Lynx in sort of different, not so much different habitats, but different areas. And the butterflies here, I didn't realize I've been running rampant so much. I need to get rid of these at some point. But yeah, anyway, it's fine. There's quite a few now. I thought I turned it so that they were supposed to manage themselves, but it turns out I've done a pretty poor job of doing that because they're absolutely everywhere. But it's cool. It gives a good vibe as you're walking through the garden, seeing all these butterflies flying around you. But we're back around to the main entrance of the gardens again. I still need to do the sign on Canva for this. I still don't know whether I'm going to keep the hand or not. Not really had any feedback on it, but I assume no news is good news. And then we've got this fountain on the left here that is sort of like a Saturn fountain, I'm going to call it, because of the rings around it. And then up here we've got the second meet and greet experience, and that is for the cheetahs. Couldn't think of a better animal to do than the cheetahs for this. So the idea being guests would come in, sit on this bench that I've just walked past, and the keepers would bring the cheetahs in and sort of get them to stand on the rock. And same premise, we've got the bucket with the stick inside it so that they can be fed from the stick rather than keepers or guests put in their putting their hands in Cheetah's mouths, because that would not be particularly wise, I do not feel. But God, I'm so glad I redid this habitat. The rear end, it looks so much better than what it did originally with all of the concrete walls around it. But carrying on around, we are going to be going to the foot of the tower now, and the water store that is over there. This little pond on the right hand side, I still really like how quaint it looks, but you can see the grandeur of the tower when you're at the foot of it here. And then you've got this little wishing well thing here with all the coins in that people have thrown in. And yeah, I just love how this area all came together in the end. Like I say, this is probably the most difficult build thus far because of everything that I was trying to bring together and make it fit with the bits that existed around it. Like I say, I'd sort of built this sanctuary in like a C shape, and this park in the middle sort of fills up the middle of that C shape to make it the halfway that it is now. But we're going to be leaving the gardens now and going to the sand cat. This is an area that's going to get a little bit of a rework. I think the foliage makes it really difficult to see the sand cat when it's walking around here. And the indoor area, I want to add a little bit more detail rather than it just being this Indonesian stone building at some point. So this is probably something that will get a rework, and Chester didn't seem too keen on being in the video either. So we'll just leave him to sleep in his little hole, which is fine by me. But then we walk out into this second sort of, not plaza area, but it's a large open space. Here you can go and see the cheetahs from the other side of their habitat. Obviously, when we zoom in a second, we'll be able to see across the way to the other viewing area. Something I've tried to avoid, because when you're looking out at animals, the last thing you want to be doing is seeing other guests as part of that experience. So being able to see the guests across the way there isn't exactly favourable, but I feel like they're potentially far enough away that it gives you a sense of how far you've come, and it gives you an idea of roughly where you are in the sanctuary. Again, these signs by line are incredible. The standing ones are pretty much my favourite ones of the whole lot. And then we're going to head around here to the lions. Lion Lookout is the temporary name, but it's pretty much going to get a rework here in a few areas. I've said a couple of times, I'm not entirely happy with the amount of the concrete retaining walls that I've used in this habitat. So I think at some point I'm going to be removing some of those walls and replacing them with some faux rock with like hot wire across the top, rather than having these flat plain concrete walls everywhere. But also the sign itself is going to get a bit of a rework. I'm still not a big fan of the in-game fonts. But Mamana here, just enjoying the sun on her little perch here on the left hand side. We'll see that in a moment. But of course, Mamana's not the only one in here. Bruce, Bayo and Ashira also share this space as well. Yes, I'm using the Lion Remaster because hashtag make lines great again. But as it stands, this habitat that I built is the most viewed on the channel. So massive thank you to everyone who's watched it and liked it. I really enjoyed making this one, but it is going to see a little bit of a rework here. This bit here on the left was sort of really pre-planned ahead of this whole sanctuary. I really wanted somewhere for you to be able to see the lions lounging in the sun, and Mamana obviously at the start was given a really good example of that. When it works, it's amazing. But obviously this isn't the only unique thing about this habitat. We obviously have the indoor viewing as well from the restaurant, and that is where we are going to be heading to now. The sort of not staff, I said it earlier for the guests, but now we're going to be heading down to the guest area, the guest plaza as it were, and that is going to be featuring our gift shop and our restaurant, all of which is situated around Broadmoor Lake. Pretty much one of the main monuments of the whole sanctuary. I think Broadmoor Lake and Dommel's Tower are the two real defining features of this whole place that makes it feel the way I wanted it to. I think without those two key elements, I really don't think that you would have the vibe of this place as it were. But Four Swans situate on that lake as well. Here, the gift shop. Still love how this place feels to this day. Glad I could get it back in now that the gift shops are obviously fixed. They were broken across pretty much the whole of December, but glad to have them back in. The details in this place, some of this stuff I even forgot. I forgot I did the changing room in there, but yeah, the guy here always seems really quite happy to see us as well, which is really cool. Glad he enjoys his job and takes it seriously. Some of the signs are done here with Canva, like I say, but this is just more me playing around with certain elements. I really do think I like the neutral beige palette, and it's something I'll be carrying on forward with future signs I'm going to be doing. But we're going to head around to pretty much the last thing of the whole tour, and that is going to be the restaurant. Still unnamed, but the Lion Lounge is pretty much going to be the name. I just need to make the sign for the front of it. Obviously, we've got the ramp, the stairs, everything to make it ADA compliant as well. And we're going to walk through the door here into the dining space itself. The vibe, it's still got a little bit of work with the signs on the walls, but I think for the general core of the place, it's actually really, really nice. Obviously, the main point here being that you want to be able to sit and eat while the lions walk past. But while you're waiting, you can get up and go up to the window here and get some really cool shots of the lions as well. Just go and take a seat and see if I can get a really good view of the whole point of this. This is based on the Big Cat Sanctuary in the UK, which has a similar type of premise. It's more of a cafe afternoon tea vibe rather than a whole restaurant vibe. Again, Mamana, she just comes along and just acts as this absolutely amazing star. She's almost like a celebrity in this whole place at this point. She's so iconic. But yeah, this is the whole point, that they walk along this walkway that's right adjacent to the window, and guests get a really good view of the animals up close while eating. But we are going to be heading on out the back of this building as well in a moment, just to see the staff area there. This is still my favourite graphic across the whole place, the Cub Club and all the benefits that subbing to the Cub Club brings when you are part of the sanctuary. But yeah, we're going to head on through to the rear of the building as well, and this is just your box standard staff area. Nothing too crazy here and iconic. A little bit of detailing could be done with some skips and buildings and whatnot, but I just wanted to get this in because originally it was just a blank space and it looked really poor from a aerial standpoint, so I just wanted to get it completed. But this place purely situate, it's literally here to just service the lions and also the swans. But there's also a staff room. There's obviously a lot of staff coming through here from the gift shop and the restaurant. But thank you so much for being on this tour with me. Thank you so much for bringing me up to this point and supporting everything that we have done up to this point. I don't usually say this, but please feel free to subscribe if you want to keep up to date with everything going on. Twitch is down below in the description as well if you want to see me building in this off stream. If you've missed any of the builds, they're also in a convenient playlist for you as well. But thanks for hanging with me during this whole tour. Peace out. Love you all. Bye bye.